Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sipping Tea with Jody B. My name is Jody Brown, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about divorce, owning your shh. And by that, I mean owning what part I played in my divorce. So, just to give you a little backstory, I was married for 16 years, and I have now been divorced for 3 years. My marriage, when it was good, and then it kind of just quickly went bad. But back in 2008, my husband and we separated, and then we filed for divorce. Well, like a month before our divorce was final, we decided to give it another try. And we renewed our vows. We got back together. During that marriage, we have three beautiful kids. We had a house. We had some cars. We had fun together. He was like my best friend. And then it just kind of went south. But today I'm going to be talking about the part I played and taking ownership in that. So my guest today is my best friend, but my sister, not by blood, but by choice, Rashonda. So Rashonda, tell us a little bit about yourself and then just a little background in your marriage relationship.
Hello, everyone. I am Rashonda Sparks. I got married in 2010 and I later divorced in 2015. So my divorce was, or should I say, my marriage was rocky from the very beginning. Uh, Contrary to what I was told and, even what I saw, I still got married with all of the red flags right in front of my face. Um, he just wasn't ready, but not to put anything on him and to really own my own shh. I would just have to say, like, during the marriage, I feel like I was trying to be more of his mother than his wife. I feel like I emasculated him a lot, like with the words that I said, the way I talked to him, and I think that I would kind of withhold, out of anger. But I feel like I withheld because, hey, you're treating me a certain way and you still expect me to put out. And, that's kind of like not really possible to do, because that's based on emotion. And then, honestly, I will say this, and a lot of women probably won't own this. I had a problem with my hands. And, you say something I didn't like, I would want to try to fight him, and then I would want to play the victim. And unfortunately, it did lead to a divorce. We had a house, later on in the end, we do have a beautiful daughter together. I will say at one point we separated 3 months into the marriage. Then we got back together 3 months later. And then within that 3 months, we did have, our beautiful daughter. And then from there, things really went downhill and we separated for 2 whole years. And, during that time, I was still just like keeping hope alive, still hoping to be with him. But, ultimately, I would just have to say, you know, I was once asked, well, who told me or why did I feel like I could be his savior? And I really had to ask myself that, and I really just didn't want to believe that he was who he was. But, and once again, owning my own part in it is just feeling like I could change him. Uh, Number two, my mouth was, very reckless. Really not being able to like really communicate the way I should have been able to communicate. And then, you know, not knowing my worth
And that you deserve it.
and that I deserve better.
Well, that was some good tea. So we're going to go ahead. Rashonda got it started. We're going to get into tea time. And tea time, which, like I said, Rashonda already got us started, but just we're going to give some more details. So the big topic is, I mentioned earlier, and that Rashonda has already kind of started. Sometimes in divorce, it's easy to blame the other person or point out the errors that the other person, had and the part they played in the end of a relationship or the end of the marriage. But today we're going to take some self-ownership. And the reason why we're doing this is because I just turned 40. Rashonda about to turn 40. We grown and we growing. And to avoid those relationship errors in our next relationships, we own in our so we won't do the same thing again. So, looking back, which we kind of already said, what are some things that you think you did well, I'm gonna go because you already kind of said it. I'm gonna talk about some things that I personally think I did that contributed to my divorce. And I have known Marcus since high school. I met him like my sophomore year of high school. So we became friends. And I think even though, we had a romantic relationship, he was like my best friend. So, but I think sometimes just within those years, just taking a person for granted. And I took him, I can say now, and that I'm out of it, that I did take him for granted. He, did a lot for me. We did a lot for each other, and we grew up together. And sometimes when you grow up together, one person is growing faster than the other person, and then you just don't show appreciation as much as you should. And not to say I didn't show I appreciated him, but I was loving him the way I thought he should be loved, not the way he wanted to be loved, and not the way he wanted or he needed to be shown love. I was like, well, I'm doing this and I'm cooking and I'm cleaning. And I'm like, well, that's not how he sees love. That's how Jody saw love.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't show him love the way he needed to be shown love. And, like I said, now out of it, I can see that and I can hear that and I can own that. But if you could do some things differently, what would it be? And do you think it would have had a different outcome and that your marriage wouldn't have ended?
Well, I totally agree with what you said too. I recognize, and it took me a long time. I just have to be honest because it was always what he did, what he did. He was the reason that the marriage ended. It was him, him, him. And then one day, I had to just really, like you said, just take a look at myself and own my own. Shh. Now, do I think that even in owning my own would things have changed, if I would have handled things differently? No, I don't think that. I think that the end result still would have led to divorce because ultimately it takes two people, and I feel like I was the one doing the work, and of course hindsight is 2020 at this point. But I definitely would have probably communicated better. I would have tried to, love him, like you said, the way that he needed to be loved and not the way that I felt that he needed to be loved. And then just know that I'm not his mama,
He was
so
already
he
raised.
was already raised. And, I've recently listened to a series by Ron Carpenter, and I had to come to conclusion with that also. Like, it was dealing with difficult people, but maybe he just wasn't able and capable to handle what I was trying to give him, and my expectations were beyond what he could reach. And so I just have to come to own that also, and just trying to make something be that really was never really
Meant to
never
be.
meant to be. And so I think going forward, because now that I have found love again and that I am engaged again, I know that I don't always say what I think. I definitely think before I speak because, y'all know me,
You have a mouth.
I mouth on me. So I'm very cautious as to what I say. And even if something is said that I don't like, I don't always just, like try to go for the jugular. So I definitely think, that's something I have really pondered upon and really try to do some self evaluation about also. And then, trying to just be less judgmental about things. I feel like I did judge him a lot because we grew up on two different sides of the track. And while I think I understood him in certain areas, I do feel like I judged him
A whole lot.
in a whole lot also. And I have to take accountability for that also, because we all are flawed.
Well, I
So
think for myself, I do wish I had done some things differently. When he would complain about certain things, I might would change for a moment, but then I would revert back to my own ways. and not purposely, but just kind of out of habit, and just getting, like lazy with it. Like, okay, well, he not saying nothing now, but I know he said something before, but he ain't mentioned it, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do it. For instance, my spending, knowing that that was something that bothered him, but okay, well, I'm gonna chill for a little while, and then, well, he not saying nothing now, so let me go buy this, and let me go buy that, and let me go buy this. And maybe I do believe if I had been more transparent with Marcus, and with uh, the things I was doing, instead of hiding it, buying stuff and hiding it in the closet, and
In the
oh no, I've been
trunk.
having this. You never saw these, and knowing good and well, it was something new. So that's deception, and that's lying. So if I had not lied, if I had not been deceitful in those areas and been more transparent, honest, and maybe even tried to change, I feel like he would. I honestly feel like our marriage would not have ended. So I do feel like there was some things that I could have done that would not have led us to divorce. But by the time you realize that it's kind of just other things had been added into
Right.
what the original problem was. Now you have more problems on top of what you already had. But had I handled the original problem, I do believe that maybe, possibly, my marriage could have been saved. So that's my take on it. But now, as far as divorce, that's another ugly thing. Once you decide that no, we're not going to save this marriage, divorce can be kind of easy, or it can be ugly. I know for me, mine's got kind of ugly. What about yours?
It did get ugly. And it got more so ugly because of the child being involved. I think for him, took advantage of the fact, oh, she probably never leave. And then, once he realized,
You were
hey,
serious.
I was serious, then he really tried to pound the pavement real hard to get me back. But, by then it just wasn't enough.
So do you think there was some things you could have done to make your divorce less complicated?
Um, I don't think there is anything that I could have done other than not get a divorce to probably make it less complicated. Ultimately, I wouldn't say like the divorce, and that's a whole nother subject. The child support is probably what was the most complicated part
Baby, that's a
about
whole
the
nother show.
about the divorce, because even once the divorce was actually final, he didn't even show up for court, and it kind of was like, wow, it was really like a death. And though it was short lived because we were separated more than we were actually apart, it was just kind of like, man, this is like still like it's really over. So I just wish things would have been differently as far as how we were with the child support and how we were going to ultimately co-parent. That would have made the divorce a whole lot less stressful.
I think for me, communication was way off for our divorce. And I think had communication, and I'm not going to say on both parts because I'm only mush, had communication been better, then I think it would have led to an easier transition. Divorce is never easy, so I don't know. People saying divorce easy and stuff. I just think it would have made things smoother,
Right.
especially with the kids being involved. So
Right.
I think had I used some better communication skills, and not got in my feelings sometimes and put emotions to the side and just handled business, then it would have led to an easier divorce. But I can always remember my daddy used to say, divorce is like death, but the only difference is you have to still see the person.
Right.
And it's very true. It's like a death of, it's a death.
It's
It's
a
the
death.
end of a life. It's the end of, y'all life together. It's the end of, a lot of things. So, and it's hard. But I think for me, if I had communicated better, and, you know, it would have made things much easier.
And I can own my on this part too, and just kind of worried about what people would say, oh, and it's, I guess, kind of funny. Like, we say we don't worry about what people say, but I can honestly say, for me during that time, I did worry about what people say because I'd already had so many naysayers against me in the beginning. So it was like, oh, I got to try to
Now it's like you're
keep
trying to
it
prove a
together,
point.
prove a point,
Yeah, for
for
people.
people. And for what reason? People going to
And
be
I think it's
people.
not that, you know, we all, like you say, we always say, I don't care what nobody think. But you do, because I do think, even you can correct me if I'm wrong, but people thought, like, for me and, my marriage, like, we were
The
the
perfect couple.
couple,
Right.
like, oh my God, like Jody and Mark is like, that's the couple. And like I said, it's a sad situation. It really is now, even that we're out of it, and I can think clearly now because my emotions are out of it, and I've healed and I've learned, and I feel like I'm once again whole. But it was a sad situation because we were the couple, and it wasn't a facade. It wasn't fake. So, the pictures and everything, people be like, people put what they want on Instagram and Facebook, but we were happy. We were happy. We were doing well. And then, like I said, when it was bad, it just got bad, and it got bad real quick, and it ended real quick. But you do worry about what people think, because, and it's almost like, well, we just get back together because people gonna think,
Right.
but then you have to think about your happiness, and the other person has to think about their happiness, as well. So, but yeah. So because of what you went through, what did you learn about yourself that you may need to work on, or some things that you're doing now to grow?
Well, definitely my mouth. And so I do feel like while I still have a long ways to go, I'm a whole lot better
Yes, you
with
are.
it. And I do really do know how to hold my tongue. And, like they say in poker game, you got to know when to hold and when to fold. And I think I can do both now. And I think when I look back on it, the 28 to 32-year-old Rashonda is not the same as the 40-year-old
40-year-old Rashonda.
Rashonda. And I can really see the maturity where I have grown, or where I would do a lot of crazy things, or, going and looking for them, and things that I have to ask myself, now, why are you really, doing all of this? Because ultimately, that if somebody wants to be with you, it doesn't take all that. They're going to be with you. They're going to do what they need to do. And it's vice versa. You want to be with that person. You're going to put in the effort to be with them and do what you need to do. But I definitely can, even in situations I feel now, in my current situation, no, I may not always look at myself in the mirror right then and there when it's happening, but I do feel like, I do have a lot of self evaluation, and try to see the role that I played, and not necessarily what they're doing, or, oh, you doing this, well, let me take a look at myself and say, what are you doing? And I'm, currently in that phase right now, asking myself a lot of different questions. I started reading the book, Five Love Languages.
Which is a very good book. I would
Which is
advise anyone who's trying to get into a relationship or maintain a relationship to read that book.
right. And, it's opening up some things for my own self that even go more personal than just a relationship. So I am trying to do some self help so that I can have a very successful second marriage. What about you?
Well, counseling for me was a big thing because I'm not a big talker to people. I like to put on my game face and I'm good. And at one point I was like broke down because it's like I can't put this game face on no more. I'm tired.
Right.
So counseling for me really helped. It gave me somebody to talk to who didn't know me, who didn't know him, but was able to give me and I don't know if counseling's supposed to do that, but I feel like God sent her to me because she gave me honest feedback. And with Jody, take a look at yourself, maybe he was doing this, and maybe and I'm like, well, yeah, that is a good way to look at it. So for me, counseling really helped. And then taking time to get to know Jody again, and taking some ownership of, not that I thought I was perfect, but I was like, I'm a good wife, and I still believe I was, but I did have some flaws. And so going forward, I do try to practice more transparency, and more honesty, and not only with people, but with myself. Like, you do have some things you're struggling with, own it. It's okay. No one's perfect. And you don't have to be perfect. And the people who know you and who love you, they're going to love you regardless,
Right.
with the imperfections and all. So that's some things I'm working on. Also with communication, because I am a communicator, but I communicate the way I want to and when I want to.
Right. This is true.
Because I'll shut down real quick, and then, you can't find me. But learning to, you still have to talk. Come
You
on,
do.
talk it through. And then also learning to love someone. My next time around, I will love them the way they need to be loved. And
Right.
those love languages, I read the book, I did the workbook, but actually putting it into play.
Play, yes.
Because just because my, love language is words of affirmation doesn't mean that maybe theirs.
Right.
So yeah, I need to hear I love you and you're beautiful and all of these things, but that may not be what they need.
Right.
So learning their love language and actually loving them the way they need to
Be
be
loved.
loved.
And that's important.
So that's some things that I have worked on. And I feel like now I am doing the work to grow. And I feel, honestly, I can say, 39 and 40, I feel totally different. Like, I feel like I feel like a new person. I feel like I have
You look
this.
like one too.
I feel it. Like I feel like I have a re like I feel rejuvenated. I feel like I'm starting life over again. And I know, it's 40 is kind of, I ain't gonna say late, but I feel like I'm starting over, and it feels so good. I can say that it feels good. I'm maturing. I feel I'm growing, and I had my growing pains, and I feel like now yeah, I feel good.
Which is good because you did get married young, so.
Yeah, That's why I say I feel like I got married at 20 years old. So yeah, I've learned, and I'm not that 20-year-old Jody. And for anybody I offended, especially him, I apologize. And I mean
Absolutely.
that from the bottom of my heart.
And I can say the same for him also. I always pointed the finger at you, but I apologize for the part that I played in it also. And I wish you the best of luck.
As do I. So, for our last sip, what are some things from this discussion that you have learned and that you will take away from this discussion?
Well, for me, you just said something that was that I'm still working on is just really opening up, being a little more transparent. It kind of for with my girlfriends is easy, of course, but I find myself even in my current relationship, it has been a little harder. It's taking me time to like take the layers off, to peel the layers back, because that's just kind of like who I've always kind of been, and I can hold things in, believe it or not, and kind of internalize them, but really just to be able to communicate and talk it out, because sometimes I do find like when things get hard, I'm just like, I will go into my little turtle shell and I'm going to shut down. So that's one of the things from this discussion that I really am going to work harder at, is not compartmentalizing those feelings, or when things get hard, just see it through, because it's gonna be okay. It'll work itself out. It always does, as we both know.
That is true.
And just being my true, authentic
Authentic
self,
self.
just being the best me that I can be, and owning my
Thank you. So, I think that for me, I've learned from this discussion, which is what I probably already knew, no one's perfect, and
right.
that's okay. And accepting people the way they are, especially if you're going to be with that person and love that person, and owning your not in hindsight, but at the moment,
Right.
So doing some self-evaluation in the moment, so I won't have to be sitting at this table again talking about divorce and owning my because I'll own it at the time. So that's something I've learned. Anything else, Rashonda? Any last thoughts that you want to tell everybody?
Yes, I ran home to my parents a lot.
Oh Lord, and that's not a good thing.
With every, and they do say, keep people out of your business. Now I will say it did not change my parents' perspective of him or the situation. They didn't treat him any differently. But for every little thing, I wanted to go, and I guess, and I was going to them because they've been married almost 50 years, and I thought they would be transparent and give me
Good
some good
advice.
advice. But once again, that hindsight is really slaps you in the face, because I should have been able to communicate that and work that out with him, and I didn't. So I definitely would say, next go around, I sure won't be running home to mama and daddy
No, no.
at all.
Well, I can say that too. Even putting people in your business. First, number one, take it to God. Take it to your spouse. And then if that don't work, take it to a pastor, a counselor, or somebody else. But having different people in your relationship, that's not healthy, and it's not productive at all.
Right. And
So
a
that's
lot
a
of
good one.
opinions. A
Yeah, a
lot
lot
of
of different
opinions.
opinions, and it'll cloud your judgment, because then you're thinking, oh, this person think this and this person, instead of thinking on what should I do and what does God want us to do. So yeah, keep people out your business, even parents.
Right.
Cool. All right, so guys, once again, I want to thank you so much for listening. Please follow me on Instagram at Sipping Tea with Jody B. If you have any show ideas, any questions, feel free to email me at sippingteawithjodyb@gmail.com. Please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is, once again, Sipping Tea with Jody B. Also, I'm on SoundCloud where you can subscribe, and that's Sipping Tea with Jody B, and iTunes, Sipping Tea with Jody B. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back